I'm Michael Bell, back with you with the CVB Challenge. We're looking at the 66 books of the Bible and showing how there's a Christ verse in each book that shows Jesus to be the center and star of that book, and hence of the entire Bible. We've reached the book of Micah. Micah 5:2 says, "But you, O Bethlehem Ephrathah, who are too little to be among the clans of Israel, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel, whose coming forth is from of old, from ancient days." This verse was famously quoted to the Magi as they're seeking the king that was to be born in Israel. They've traveled to the city of Jerusalem, the capital city, the logical place to look for a royal son to be born. And there, Herod has no idea where this child would have been born, and so he consults his wise men, and they quote Micah 5:2. The wise men go down to Bethlehem, and this is where they find the baby Jesus. Now, he's not in the manger anymore. He's in a particular house. Some time has passed since his birth, but he's still very young, and he's still in his native town of Bethlehem, the city where he was born. A town maybe of 1,000 people at that time. Now, this verse illustrates the fact that God became man, that the infinite became finite, because we see the child being born in a town of Bethlehem having a definite beginning, and it's the beginning of a mortal life because Jesus will die on a cross. But it says that this ruler, his coming forth is from of old, from ancient days, hinting at his eternality, that this is no ordinary boy. This is a boy who had a prior existence. He existed in the form of God. Let me explain from Philippians chapter 2. It says that Jesus, though in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. Philippians 2, verse 6. But emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Now, this word emptying himself is key. Kenoo is the verb. Kenosis is the noun that describes this emptying that took place in order for a divine being to become a mortal being, in order for an eternal being to become a finite being, and in order for the second person of the Trinity to become the human Jesus born in the town of Bethlehem. And this is a concept that's difficult for people to understand. And many people today practically deny the incarnation because they don't understand that Jesus became a true man. It's blasphemous to say of God many of the things we say about Jesus. For example, we say that Jesus was tempted. Hebrews is emphatic in saying that he was tempted in every way as we are. How could this happen? Because isn't he God? Well, no, he's become a man. God cannot be tempted with evil. And the book of James is emphatic about that. The Old Testament says that God never grows weary. He never grows hungry. He never suffers thirst. He doesn't suffer weakness. He's described as knowing all things, as having no geographical limitations. He can be anywhere he needs to be at any given time. He can be in multiple places at the same time. None of these things are true of Jesus, because through the Kenosis, he lets go of those prerogatives, those divine prerogatives that are incompatible with a human existence. And he becomes a true babe, born in ignorance, born in weakness. And Luke doesn't lie when it says in chapter 2, verse 52, and also earlier in the chapter, that Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and men. Why? Only because he was human. God cannot grow. God cannot grow in wisdom. He knows everything that can be known. But Jesus did. And perhaps the most important thing to know is that God is immortal. He cannot be killed, but Jesus died on a cross. The only reason he was capable of dying was because he had become a human being, identifying with you and with me as God's means for dealing with our sin. And this is how the book of Micah ends. It deals with, he will again have compassion on us. He will tread our iniquities underfoot. You will cast all our sins into the depths of the sea. You will show faithfulness to Jacob and steadfast love to Abraham, as you have sworn to our fathers from the days of old. This is God's means of dealing with our sin. A person of Jesus Christ who was born in the town of Bethlehem Ephrathah as a human being like you and me. Now, if Jesus is on every page of the Bible, including in the book of Micah, shouldn't he also be on every page of your life and mine?